Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your cough button list host, Devon Decker, and joining me, my host companion, Sejohn Sarowick. Sejohn?
Yes, that's true, Devin. I have a cough button, and it works like this.
Well, that was lots of fun for you.
It was. I had the image in my head of Jim Carrey, and I thought I should aspire to that.
Everyone should aspire to Jim Carrey when they're like 8 years old.
I actually literally had a conversation today with somebody. What were we talking about? And I said, it's okay, I'm a 10-year-old. Oh, we were talking about banana hummus. And everybody in the room was like, ew. And I was like, meh, I've eaten worse. I've had kids that have put mayonnaise into like my Coca-Cola, and I drank it. Like, oh, I'll try anything.
I feel like you had a really special childhood. That's what that sounds like.
I mean,
mayonnaise
if by
into Coke.
mean very special episode childhood, yeah, probably. I definitely would have been the kid in the bullying episode.
Who brings a gun to school?
Yeah, great. That's not quite where I was going, but
that's usually how they go.
Huh?
Have you never seen a very special episode of any show? The bullying episode has the bullied kid bring his like stepfather's gun to school.
Yeah, but then he gets stopped by the main character of the show, be it Buffy or
Mr. Belvedere.
All I can think of is the Buffy episode. Yeah, sorry.
Are you sure you want to bring a gun to school, Willie? I'm Mr. Belvedere. I'm going to shit my pants so egregiously, we're going to call it Belvedering.
You know, it's hard not to take this in like a serious direction as we talk about this horrible thing that actually happens in the real world, but you know, it's hard to not look back on those very special episodes and those storylines that very much, you know, catered to the idea that these people are the true victims. And, you know, I don't want to discount like any of that, like the stories that they told in those episodes. Yes, those characters are very much the victims, but I cannot help but wonder if that has led to a lot of this like victimhood that we are seeing as we record an episode on the weekend of the Straight Pride Parade. Just putting that out there.
Oh, wait, did that happen already?
That is this weekend, I believe. If Twitter is to be believed, but I'll be honest, I've been trying to ignore it with every fiber of my being. So,
did you see their flag? Their flag is something special.
Is it goatsy? I was waiting for it to just be fucking goatsy.
It is if the Olympics were more litigious, which is funny to say because they are pretty litigious.
They're pretty fucking litigious. Yeah.
It is the male gender symbol and the female gender symbol. The rings are intertwined a la the Olympic rings. I'm doing this with my finger rings right now. Mm-hmm. You know, your finger rings?
Your finger rings. Well, because you do have pinky rings. Pinky rings galore for anybody that wonders.
Right, no, I mean the index finger to thumb. I'm doing it. It's that, and then it is a field of pink coming off of the female gender symbol and a field of blue coming off of the male gender symbol.
With our powers combined, we are annoying.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's something special. It's crazy. And you just to hear the stuff that they've been like, someone was interviewing them and was like asking them questions and they're like, you're not real media, get away from us.
Yeah, I just I think it's important for us to remember how cyclical some of this stuff really ends up being, right? Because these are the guys that 20 years ago we would have been trying to support because of their feelings of outsiderness, and it led to a culture where we kind of bred these people now that feel very entitled in their otherness, which is it's like at some point it's going to come back around, right? Where we're eventually going to have to cater to some whims of these idiots. And so like trying to find that rubber band where that rubber band is going to finally stop bouncing back and forth, I guess it's never going to happen. Yeah, like, I mean, the white kid that was getting picked on in school that shows up with a gun is now the dude that's in the street, like causing all these problems, right?
Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary.
But we do what we can.
Yeah, we do what we can to make happiness survive.
Well, and part of it is this idea that like I was very excited to sit down and record with you on this Labor Day weekend on this celebration of of people coming together, unionizing in order to actually like help each other. It's like it's a weird sandwich here for us to be sitting in the middle of because we're recording early for anybody who's wondering because of the holiday, and so with the holiday tomorrow, that's going to be a celebration of unions, and then all that bullshit yesterday, and which is a celebration of I, I can't even I won't even dare to guess what is going on in their heads, to be entirely honest. But it's a weird place to be in at the moment.
Yeah. Yes. So how was your week? I really want to spin away from this, and I
Yeah.
I can't think of a funner way than asking what your week was like.
Quick look, a segue. Um, so this week has been have I already like lost my shit about my Kindle yet to you?
No,
My
this is news.
Yeah, well, it's news because I hated it and I still don't love it. So like it's weird. So I got a free Kindle. That is also key. I should like point out here that this was not something that I paid for. So I'm coming at this as somebody that was just like handed this thing. And I mean literally handed it. In my last few days at Amazon, I think they were trying to get me to stick around and they they like shoved this fucking ebook in my hand. It was like, "Dude, here's a prize for your attendance." And I was like, "I think I just like called in sick the last 2 days for no reason." Like I was really actually at home drinking, like, but nope. They really wanted me to stick around, so they hand me this thing, right? Um and I've been
Sejohn,
kind of
I need to
scared.
do this or I'm going to blow up. So I'd call it a frindle, but that's a pen. Continue. My heart
Uh,
was so mad at me.
I am very happy that we took that moment. Um, so I've kind of not really touched the thing for like months, right? So I got this back in conservatively, I got it for Christmas, probably a little after New Year's, right? But essentially, I've had it a long time, is what I'm getting at, and I didn't touch the thing for the first 3 months I had it. It sat in the box. I was gonna give it to somebody for Christmas, and straight up thought, no, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. So I'm not. I'm so it stayed like by the side of my bed. And then one day on a whim, I was just like, well, I got this thing around. I should definitely open it up, especially because we ended up with some Echo Dots in the house. Also gifts. It's weird. We keep falling into this stuff, but I think it's literally because Amazon is just throwing it at people to like love them. like a fucking stepdad. They're just like, here's this new thing. Don't you think we're great now? And it's like, all right, but you're still the worst.
And we're going to
Greg.
collect information from you because you've invited us into your house for free.
Yeah. That's also the nefarious side of this, right? Is they have all of this free stuff that they've been handing out every Black Friday, every Christmas, where they're suddenly like,
If
"Oh,
you
we
buy a
found all
TV right
uh,
now, you get a free Echo Dot.
Yeah, and all of those devices are going to work together to really get to know you. So I opened the Kindle up. I started it up and I hate it even more because it's clunky. The UI on it is not great. I don't think that Amazon's UI on any platform has been great. Whether it's the Fire Stick, the just the app itself, the Kindle. I think it's all been just hard to get around, hard to find anything. They still separate television shows, just to give you a perfect example of this. They still separate the seasons out. You don't just look for a TV show and then within the TV show go to separate seasons. You literally have to look out for season 1, season 2, season 3. And so like it's ridiculous. They've at least gotten good enough to now start recommending, oh, you finished season 1, maybe you should look into season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can at least quickly find stuff, but it's not nearly as smooth as even Hulu, and you've heard me bitch about Hulu's UI a bunch. So like, I just haven't loved the thing, right? And then just a couple of weeks ago, I stumbled into this Kindle Unlimited stuff that they're doing now, and basically it's like the Netflix for like books, except that once again they've just completely fucked it all up because like there's nothing good on the book side. I thought. For instance, couldn't find any Douglas Adams, couldn't find any Stephen King, couldn't find any Neil Gaiman, couldn't find any, and I'm naming off a bunch of very
Those are things that people would pay for, Sejohn.
well, right, and on top, but like Netflix gets by on maybe not scoring every movie that people would pay for, but getting a couple of movies that people would pay for, right? Hulu's the same way. Like you go to Hulu because yeah, I could pay for these television episodes, but they've got it. If Amazon wants to compete on that level, Prime is a weird animal. because I'm gonna say that I don't think they're really that hot when it comes to the video service stuff, but I'm forgetting about things like Marvelous Miss. I always want to say Miss Marple.
Maisel.
I always want to say Miss Marvel, and that is another marvelous woman. But yeah, they've got that. They've got the boys. They've got they've got some pretty decent.
Carnival Row just dropped.
Carnival Row came out. We'll see where that goes. Seems like something I will love. I don't know if the rest of the world will definitely dive into it. It's like Penny Dreadful, reformed, but I'm down. But yeah, so like they've got something there. It's such a bitch to find anything of any value on Amazon right now, and I think that's their entire like business model, because lo and behold, in the Kindle Unlimited thing, after all of this time of me not being able to find a damn thing to read, my suggested stuff starts to show up miraculously, and it's actually stuff I've been looking at. And the very first thing it recommends to me is the first collection of Doom Patrol, the recent one written by Gerard Way, that has like a huge influence on the TV show and a huge influence on like what the characters are in terms of like an exploration of psychology, gender, sexuality. Like, it's not just here are some horror comics. It's here are some horror comics that actually have some like weird depth to them. And that apparently is being really attributed to the Gerard Way line. I find out through all these reviews, at least. And so I pick it up and I read it, and it's gorgeous. And then I realized that they've got like The Long Halloween, they've got Batman Year One, they've got all of this really good Constantine stuff, they've got Preacher collections, like they've got a ton of stuff in the graphic novel section, and it's presented beautifully. I don't know if they're using some of the comiXology like coding or what, but they do that wonderful thing where it's panel by panel or page by page. And then if it is panel by panel, the way that it moves between panels is dynamic. And even within one panel, they'll do one side and then the other if it's supposed to be like a reveal of a line or a character. Like, it's really, really cinematic almost in a lot of the ways that it shows things. And so that's why I cannot believe that it's theirs, because with everything else and the way that everything else works and looks, I cannot believe that particular comic reading application part of their Kindle Unlimited program is really theirs. Whoever created it, though, it's fucking marvelous. So I've just been like deep diving into just weird stuff, because again, they don't have everything, but it's to be expected that they're not going to have everything. But when I turn it on, the first thing that I'm offered is like Hellblazer Collection Volume 1 and fucking Swamp Thing Volume 1, like all of these really great like deep reads. I read all of Nightfall. I've never read Nightfall. It's been crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like check that out if you have access to it the way that I did. Like, if you get a free Kindle, if you stumble into that, Kindle Unlimited is $9 a month. There's a 7-day free trial, which might be enough for you to explore it and figure out that it's not for you, right? But like, I kind of just found my way to it without having to spend too much money or time, and like, so from that perspective, I'm slightly impressed. But keep in mind, I still have issues with it, and I didn't pay for this shit. If I was somebody that paid $80 for a Kindle, signed up for Kindle Unlimited, was paying that $10 a month fee, I don't know if I would feel great about this thing. I don't know.
So I have questions about this. The Kindle that you have, it's like the Kindle Fire with like the color screen and everything.
Yeah. Okay. It's not the latest model, it's the last model.
Okay, that's fine.
They weren't going to give me a free one of the new one. But
well, that's stupid. They actually should have given you a free one of the new one, because then it's free advertising. But I'm just talking like, it's how I literally just brought this up at dinner. You'll get a textbook if you're going to teach the course using that textbook. They'll give you that for free, because they know that then 30 people have to buy that book. Mm-hmm. So like, it's not a bad investment for the textbook companies to be like, yeah, we can give you a free one to check it out. Because if you buy it, oh boy. And if they had given you a free like new one, I think that like the clunkier issues of it, you wouldn't think about those. You would be saying, oh, you should see how fast this thing is now. Like, I've heard horror stories in the past, but now it's really sweet. But I, in my head, went back to the Kindle that I got for free. And it was a Christmas gift as well, but it was an actual Christmas gift. And it was when I worked on the ocean. And working for the cruise line, all I did was read. Like, my spare time was spent reading. It's when I finally got through The Three Musketeers. It's when I got through, like, Scott Pilgrim I picked up. I read all the time. And then it came time to leave, and I had all these books, and it's like, well, I'm not going to take these books with me, because my suitcase can only weigh so much, and damn it. So they were all gifted out to other people, right? It was like this nice little moment.
Yeah.
And then as a gift, my mother got me a Kindle, being like, you said you were reading all the time, you can just use this. And I immediately returned it. I'm like, it sucks. I don't like the UI. This is 9 years ago with like that weird like ink text
the
stuff.
ink?
Like
Yeah.
and so very weird. But then what
that was like that back when the Nook came out. Jeez.
Yeah. So I had that and it didn't work. And I had gotten the one that had like 3G so that even if I were on the ocean, I could download books without any issue. Because I had known people who had that and they didn't have many complaints about it. But then, like, at home, trying to use the 3G to see, it was not good. So I'm like, this isn't really worth it. I'm not going to use it. I'd rather just buy books and then leave them for people than walk around with this. But then when my contract finally read up in March and I went out to the ocean again, before finding out that, the job that you were supposed to be doing, that no longer exists, but we trapped you on this boat, enjoy the next year of your life. You're never trapped, people. There's always an escape. And it's not necessarily jumping into the Mississippi River. Which I heavily considered.
I was going to say, is that what you did?
No, I heavily considered it. And I told an officer, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm thinking about jumping into the river. And he's like, God, Devon, I hear you're so funny, and it's such a good joke. And I'm like, I can't be on this boat anymore. like that was a cry for help.
A terrible mistake.
But I bought another Kindle before that, and I still have that Kindle. I never use it. It's probably in pristine condition. And it's just, I always kind of want to get a Fire. I don't have a tablet. I'm not a tablet person. I have my, like, Dookie gaming laptop. Dookie is not the word I wanted to use there. I have a beefy, for real, Core i7 gaming laptop. I have a nice Core i5 desktop. And then I have what I call my crap top, which I got for $100. And, like, that's the one where, like, I'll travel with that. Because if something were to happen with it, it's no skin off my neck. But I don't have a tablet. And the Fire's one that I'm like, maybe I'm going to get this Kindle. But I'm like, but I always think of how terrible that Kindle I got in the beginning of the Kindle line was.
Look, I don't know much about the brand new one, but they haven't learned anything, or they hadn't learned anything between the one I got and the one that you got. So I cannot imagine they suddenly had some drastic revelations over the last iteration.
Well, I mean, and they lean into planned obsolescence even more than Apple in a lot of ways, where they're like, why are we going to release a great product when we can release a mediocre product and we already know what we're going to do to make it better on the next release?
Well, and it lets them sell it at a third of the price of an Apple product, less than that even.
Yeah, that's how they're able to sell them for $80, because they could sell them for $400 because the technology is new and they could be really nice. But if people get them for $80, if it breaks, they're not going to feel bad about having to get a new one. Well, when the new one releases and it's still $80, they're more than willing to part with $80 again.
Yeah, and it lets them give them out like fucking candy and look so good. It's the same with the Echo Dots. They have the $300 model out there if you want it, but the Echo Dot is in that like nice round like $42 range, and that might even be more expensive than they really are normally, which allows them to go on sale constantly, give them out as free prizes, talk about like, hey, put one in every house, right? And it's the same deal with that. They very much follow that idea of it doesn't have to be top of the line. It just has to be the one everybody wants. And so it's this weird counter to even the way that Apple does things, because Apple's idea was always, and Tesla kind of has adopted this now, we are going to be so top of the line that everybody has to have us. And I don't know if we necessarily live in a world that can afford to do that anymore.
Well, also, I remember when I got my first Apple product. It was my MacBook, my PowerBook or ProBook. I don't even know what the name of it was. It was a PowerBook. It was a PowerBook G4, and I got it my freshman year of college. And that
Snow
was
Leopard, or before that even?
Way before Snow Leopard. I think maybe like Panther is what I had on it. And that laptop served me really, really well. But for the reason that it was kind of comparable in cost to a PC at the time. Like laptops were still expensive in 2004. They hadn't really figured out how to make them cheaply as they have now.
Dude, I was looking at a fucking like Surface Book for $250 the other day, and I thought seriously about just dropping it because like a Surface at that price is insane.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Like it's just they figured it out. So Apple became like a boutique product where you're paying for the name. And for some people, you're paying because it's made in America, which is always kind of a weird argument to me. Because, like, Dell is also made in America, Dad. Not that my dad's the person, but, like, the kind of people who insist, I want an American-made product. And it's like, that's cute that you want an American-made product, but the stuff that's going into your Apple, that's all made in China.
I was going to say, it might be assembled in America. I wouldn't call it made in America, but anyway.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, there are people who are like, I buy Apple because it's an American company. And it's like, yep, so is Gateway. Doesn't change the fact that the stuff that's inside of it, made somewhere else. But what am I talking about? And when it came time for me to get another computer, I looked at the cost of continuing in the Apple thing, and I'm like, this is still the same price as when I got my PowerBook in 2004, but it's not much better. And then I looked at like a laptop, and I'm like, this is actually really nice, and it's half the price. And that's when I stopped using Apple, except for this specific thing that we do.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's going to devolve really quickly here into one of those weird fuck Apple, fuck Windows arguments, and I don't think that's...
No, that's not the point. My point is just that I understand that Apple at a time was about being the top of the line and being the best, but in that like 6 years between me getting my PowerBook and me needing another laptop, I mean, it lasted me 6 years. That's impressive for any piece of technology in a world of planned obsolescence. But in that time, the iPhone had come out and the iPad, and both of those is when Apple was like, oh, we can kind of just rest on our laurels that everybody loves us. Yeah. We don't need to push the envelope the way that we used to.
And they kind of needed to be at that point because Steve Jobs started not doing well, and like they didn't know what future the company was going to have. But they had at the least they were like, we've got a few years to figure it out while we sit on the profits we make off of this shit.
Right. But like, I don't think I'm ever going to get another iPhone because the iPhone SE was the last one that like was built with Steve Jobs' like ideal of quality in mind. Mm-hmm. Like now it's a lot more plastic parts and stuff and like that.
That's that almost sounds like a joke when you say that, but really it's weird how much of a difference in quality you can see later on. Like I'm never one to give the big company props when they don't deserve it, but if they do, like you could see the quality in the early iPhones, and I mean the iPod, the way that it took off, the way that it did, everything about that stuff. There was definite quality in all of that, and the fact that you don't see that anymore is, to be frank, striking. I cannot believe how toy-like a lot of the new stuff looks, and I'm hesitating from using a dirtier word than that, and I don't know why because we swear all the time, but like they do look like toys now.
Toy-like is fine because I remember when I went over to England, they had just released, I'm gonna say like iOS 8, and Will's dad was just like, it looks like Fisher-Price. And I'm
not
like,
wrong, man.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Like, they really wanted to lean into the user-friendly aspect of it, and I think it affected the product. And the really gross thing is we can both say here that they look more toy-like, the phones, but the prices have only gone up. Yeah, like, for sure. $1,200 for a phone is ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this conversation and I'm going to flip it a little bit. Not so much. We're not going to turn it all the way around, take a look at his butt. We're just going to stop halfway. I think that there's really something to the nefarious aspect that you were kind of getting at earlier, though. There's something about the way that Apple kind of wanted to be your whole life and created the idea of the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the big things that I love now, and the reason why I was never an Apple person, is because I can now have an ecosystem of my own making, because it is still a thing in our lives now. Everything talks to everything, right? But the difference is I don't need to buy all Apple products for my life to be okay. That felt just a little too dystopian for me. But now, I've got a Google speaker in the house. I got those two Alexas I was talking about. My Kindle will talk to that stuff in various ways. My TV now talks to my Google thing, and my phones and all this, and my computer can talk to my computer at work and all this sort of shit, right? So it is an ecosystem still, and everything is still kind of being run by the machines, and we can talk about the horrors of that all we want, at great length, please. At Siege versus the World, find me. But there's this idea that it's an ecosystem that I have some control over, that I feel a lot better about than I ever did with the Apple one, right? So I think that was really kind of the big thing, was when they really bought into that idea of the ecosystem, is when they started to really draw those hard lines in the sand of either you're with us or you're against us, and nobody else really ever did that. And in a weird way, they succeeded where Apple didn't, because now we all know that Apple is the enemy and people are purposely not buying them, whereas nobody thinks twice about picking up the new Google phone yet. They will, maybe not. Maybe Google will keep its nose clean long enough for us to forget about some of the weird shit they do. But let's forget. Everybody right now is talking about the Apple stuff, and about how Apple finally came out and said, we're going to stop people from listening in on you. But everybody seems to forget that this whole thing started because we figured out that Amazon Echo Dots were.
Right. It's what's really scary is
the whole Amazon line.
Google is, for lack of a better analog, Grand Moff Tarkin. And Grand Moff Tarkin was doing shit in the shadow of the Empire that was bad, but the Empire was there to draw the ire of the Resistance. Mm-hmm. And that's because Google existed alongside Apple, and Apple was doing things so Google's okay, as long as we don't go that far, we're fine. And now they're in the shadow of the new order that is Amazon, and Google is able to get away with it. And then what they're doing, what they have to do, is they need to sell out Google. The Empire needs to, they can't not be aware that Google is kind of acting in the shadow of all the bad press that Amazon is getting.
Oh, they are very aware, and that's very obvious in of all of the shit in my house, the thing that's hardest to get to communicate are Amazon anything to Google anything. So my Google phones have a hard time with the Echo sometimes. I cannot play Amazon Prime on a Google device. That sort of shit. It's only just now. I mean, Amazon, the same shit that they're pulling with Disney now, they pulled with Google a year ago.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very obvious that Amazon knows that Google is coming to get them. But they're staying back, man.
Right. Which is why they're going to let them build their Death Star that is Stadia, and it will probably, be destroyed by the Rebel Alliance.
We'll see. If Google plays their cards right, they might win over enough people to survive, and that's always been Google's tactic. We don't need to be tops yet. We just need enough people to keep our foot in the fucking game, and then strike.
True. I mean, I honestly, I'd like Stadia. I want Stadia to work so it improves the infrastructure in our country, because we got shitty internet compared to other places in the world.
Yeah. Well, and I am wholly behind Stadia 2.0. I think that I don't want to necessarily be in on the test group with the first version, but man, I bet you by the time 2.0 comes around, I will buy in.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see, especially for you, who is a card-carrying member of the Google world. Mm-hmm. But we also talk about ecosystems and how them being built, and that's what Apple's whole thing is. Apple also realized how foolish that was, and iTunes is now disbanded. And each thing now exists as its own personal ecosystem that you can slot around.
Nice. I don't think that they came to the sudden realization one morning, like Scrooge waking up on Christmas, and we're oh, take it down, shut it all down. like that's not what happened. What happened was, oh, people stopped buying music from us. This isn't worth it anymore. That's what happened. Taylor Swift has basically called us out in every contract she's written, so we're useless now. That's what happened.
Well, that's part of it, but also it's the fact that didn't stop it from trying to be your big media hub.
For sure.
And then they're yeah, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Well, let's leave you alone. Okay, so I'd like to pivot to happy. Because we've been talking, not negative. I don't know how we got here. Oh, because you've been playing with the Kindle for it.
And I'm not. I'm not completely down on it. Is the end of that?
Yeah.
Machines are taking over. But yeah, Devin, talk to me about the happiest people on Earth.
Oh, the happiest people on Earth? Before we go to the happiest people on Earth, I'd like to. This is the perfect spot of the episode for me to take a little detour to. It's not a new segment because I don't want to become like known as a man versus food type dude. I'm not going out trying to do food challenges. But if I am somewhere and there is a food challenge,
food show,
and I'm like, first, I would do a food show. Let's just be honest. Food Network, come on, get me a show.
And it would be called that.
What would it be?
Devin does a food show. Just that.
Oh, I mean, like Devon and Sejohn go. It's very easy to add a food level to that.
Go to the bathroom. What are we doing?
Oh man, I gotta do something with those tapes. I have them, but our first failed project. But
that's going to be a special sometime. We should put them up on YouTube and then commentary over them, and we will keep it PG so that we can maybe possibly monetize the video, and then we'll go and do it.
Sounds good. I like this plan. Well, let's talk about it afterwards in a production meeting, though, not on the episode. So I'm not a real food challenge guy. I mean, I've eaten a Holy Cow Sundae at Newport Creamery. I've never been brave enough to do the 3 awful for a free awful challenge. Because that just seems like not worth it.
I'm just sorry. I'm thinking about like if we had a subreddit right now, it would be proceeds to talk about all food challenges.
Well, no, I'm just saying is that I don't want to be known as that. And well, because right now it's 2 other ones that I'm going to say. It's the one that I went to like the hometown bar and I specifically said, don't let me order the challenge burger. But the start time on their website for the event we were going for was 6 o'clock, but it didn't start until 9. Like the person hit the wrong number between 6 and 9.
Ew.
So we were there 3 hours early. And I'm like, well, I'll do the challenge then, right? That'll kill an hour. And like that one, it was just like, I want to see your giant burger. I don't think I'm going to finish and win your challenge, but I ended up finishing winning their challenge. And so yesterday, I went to Putter's Paradise. This is the 3rd week in a row that I've played mini golf.
I'm so excited.
Why?
Because I fucking love mini golf. Have we never talked about Sejohn's World Tour?
No, this is exciting.
It's truncated version. If and when I become a millionaire, billionaire, eventually, right? As I smack my microphone in excitement, it is one of the big things that I would organize. I would organize an 8-person round robin of mini golfs across the country, ending at the Disney World miniature golf course just outside of Pleasure Island.
Okay.
I have an entire fucking route planned out. I had challengers at one time. Obviously, people have been rotated in and out throughout my life, but like I have such an affection for mini golf. I've done mini golf has been one of like my many first date places. So anyway, I'm excited that you're getting into mini golf.
I'm not getting into mini golf. Don't call it a trend yet. It's just that I've happened to mini golf 3 weeks in a row. And whatever. But then where we were mini golfing is in Berlin, Connecticut, and they're like, there's some place around here that has 2-foot-long hot dogs. And, it's one of those, I'll have a cheese and pepperoni pizza type things, where I had to be like, do you mean you get like 2 1-foot-long hot dogs for like $5? Or are these literally 24-inch wieners? And they're literally 24-inch wieners.
Oh, gosh.
And Man vs. Food has
so
been
hard to
there.
Figure out what you meant.
I'm sorry. Man vs. Food has been there.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
We go, it's called Doogie's, and we go there, and on the wall, it's the challenge, and it's $36. You get 2 2-foot-long hot dogs, so 48 inches of wiener. Ugh. 48 inches of wiener.
That's silence.
A small fry and a soda. And if you can eat it all in 20 minutes, you get your picture on the wall, you get a t-shirt, and you get a $36 gift card.
What is a palm this wiener?
So that's the thing, is you need to get 4 toppings. Because if I could have just done it naked, I don't think it would have been a problem at all. And actually, the bun itself is more of like a bakery torpedo roll, not necessarily hot dog bun consistency. It felt
Or
like a
bread.
cheesesteak. I missed what you
Okay.
said.
No. So that's more. I'm trying to do the math, but that's more bready than a hot dog bun is what you're
Yeah,
getting
it's
at. So
breadier
it's
than
like,
a hot dog run.
yeah,
So I'm like, what is there anything special I have to do for the challenge? Like, should I have given you guys notice? They're like, no, we can do it. It's no problem. You just need to pick 4 hot toppings. And they have a little list of what is a hot topping. And they're like, and you can double up, whatever, it's up to you. So I decided to do this because I don't think I'm ever going to be in Berlin, Connecticut again. I certainly don't know if I'm ever going to go to this Doogie's place again. So I'm like, whatever, it's a story, regardless. So I order them with chili, cheese, double bacon.
Ooh.
Because,
Okay.
you know, what the hell? Well, I figure that, like, bacon's one of those things where, like, double bacon's probably similar to regular bacon.
Yeah, fair enough. This is the pricier object. They clearly won't actually double this.
Right.
So can I ask what other options did you have, or were those basically the 3 and you
Pulled
had to double
pork.
them? Oh,
Like,
yep. Nope, not doing that one on the challenge.
I can't think of other ones. Like, I could look at their website and see it, but like basic hot dog, like
Okay.
fixins and all of
Can I
that.
ask you a key thing?
Yes.
Can you purchase one of these 2-foot-long hot dogs separate from the
Yes, you
challenge?
can.
Like you just say, okay, all right.
So you don't need to do the challenge.
Right.
And the other people that I was with, one of them, they split a 2-foot long hot dog between the two of them.
Nice.
They got the man versus food, which was essentially what I just ordered with peppers and onions as well.
Oh, God, I'm hungry now.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you hungry. And it's a very simple challenge to take. You just need to be seated facing the cash register. And then you tell them when
Is
you're
that so
taking.
they can keep an eye on you?
Yeah, and then they're like, just tell us when you take your first bite and we'll start the timer. So I do this and I get through the first hot dog in like 7 minutes.
Nice.
And I'm like, good. And they're like, you're on a good pace. And I'm like, thank you. And then I get to the second one. And the second one, I like ran out of hot dog. I don't know how you run out of hot dog, but like it had turned into a chili cheese and bacon sandwich. And that was very difficult to eat. So I am happy to report that I failed the Doogie's challenge, but in 20 minutes, I ate 2 2-foot-long hot dogs. I completed both of the hot dogs in 20 minutes. But like most challenges, it's the fries that fuck you.
Yeah, right.
Like the Everest burger at the Muse Tavern is a 2-pound burger and 2 pounds of fries.
Yeah.
No one should be able to eat that. And you shouldn't be proud if you can eat that. I'm gonna just be honest with you. As the guy who just swallowed so much hot dog.
If these are not the happiest people on earth, then what could possibly be the happiest people on earth? Because sitting around doing that food challenge all day, sounds amazing.
Yeah, and it was nice. It was like a fun experience. But the happiest people on earth, tra la la, tra la la la, tra la 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 la. The Banana Splits movie.
It's so terrifying.
Oh, it is. It's the Banana Splits movie is finally available on DVD. It released on digital on the 13th of August.
Oh, no. It's been out for 2 weeks
already. It's been out for 2 weeks. Well, but let's be honest, though. That was a surprise to me. Because when we first talked about the Banana Splits movie, the hard release date was August 27th. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew that was the release date of the Banana Splits. Right. The big issue is, from between us talking about it and now, stuff releases on digitals 2 weeks early before physical. Like, I don't know what changed in the world of entertainment, but like that's just a new thing that has occurred. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to go check for the Banana Splits thing. And I'm like,
Walmart, by the way, to answer your question, you really want to know where that shit started. And by all accounts, it's Voodoo. And that is a Walmart-owned company, but that's how they've got that power. They've got that brand power. And they say, basically, like, give us the rights to put this out digitally before we put it on our shelves, or we won't put it on our shelves. It was essentially the card that they played.
And that's so crazy to me because I remember a time where streaming was the secondary.
Mhm.
A DVD would come out, and then it would be a month before you could stream it.
Right.
Because they wanted those physical sales.
And
Like
Walmart, but yeah.
no, not just in the world. Like
Right, but Walmart is the leading force behind. It's the same in video games too. When Walmart comes out and says we will not put your product on our shelves, you basically, in the business world, you consider yourself pretty much fucked. And so like you see this all the time with video games, and why they won't go to these certain lengths. They'll make sure that cover art has the certain stuff on it because Walmart will come to them and say, no, not that. We won't put that on our shelves. I mean, look at the entire plastic instrument industry for Rock Band. That's what really sank that series, was Walmart deciding they weren't going to carry plastic instruments anymore, and like that just screwed them and Guitar Hero. But like but with movies, it happens now. It used to be Walmart at the time, maybe Best Buy was at the table too, but essentially Walmart coming to them and being like, we won't put this thing on our shelf unless you put the release date for streaming here or there. And it's just crazy how much control they have over the home entertainment side of what we do.
yes. I was more talking about the fact that streaming is now officially king. Because before it was this niche thing that they didn't want to do until people had a chance to spend money on it, but now the money is being spent there. Like,
Yeah.
that's the scarier thing to me, is seeing just how the market trend shifted in, I'll say, 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I watched The Matrix on Vudu this week.
So did I. That's how I watched it as well. For free with
go.
commercials.
Exactly. Yep.
And Dale, because she's too good for that, paid to rent it on Amazon for the episode. And she's like, I'm not watching commercials. And I'm like, okay, but then you just paid $4 for something I got for free.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if I had known we were going to do that, I wouldn't have watched it with commercials.
The juniors think they're so smart.
Ah, man, it's this new generation. Yelling at clouds. But yeah, so the Banana Splits movie finally came out in the way that I knew it was coming out on the 27th. So I hunted it down and I watched it. And I'm going to take another brief detour, and this is really brief. I finally saw the film Ready or Not.
Oh, okay.
And I was really excited about it, and I ended up not liking Ready or Not. But Banana Splits, you know, we were like I was cautiously optimistic. You were baffled.
I'm still baffled. Optimistic, but optimistically baffled.
Okay, but baffled. Once you hear the word baffled, that's what people focus on. The optimism goes right out the window.
I just don't want it to sound like I was shitting on it, because I really wasn't.
No. I understand where you're coming from. But it's one of those things where I need to watch it. And both of the movies, spoilers, has the main badass lady says to the husband, I want a divorce. And I did not think that of the two movies that shared that line of dialogue, the Banana Splits movie would be the one that I absolutely fucking loved. It's so good. It's incredible.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Surprise,
everybody. I have not seen it yet.
Sejohn, because we moved up recording, it's totally my fault. But yeah,
I mean, it's going to be watched tonight, essentially. I have the house to myself tonight and too many altered products in the house. I'm going to be watching the Banana Splits, don't worry.
Yeah, I watched it. The only thing I had in my system was the remnants of 48 inches of hot dog and some water.
So some true mind-altering substances.
Yes. It's so good. I can't believe it's straight to DVD. Is like really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
The quality of it felt like a cinematic release in every sense of the word.
But I think that they're not stupid. They know their market, and they're going to make more money off of people buying this to show at a party with their friends than they would have if they put it in like theaters for 2 weeks that it would have gotten.
Right, exactly. I don't think it would not have like lit up the world in the way that I wish it could.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't believe just how good it was. Everything about it was so good. Like, I don't even know. Like, what can I spoil? What should I spoil for you? I'm asking Siege, and he's going to be the audience surrogate here.
Well, okay. So before we get into what can be spoiled, first of all, I have to put out my ubiquitous. I don't really mind spoilers. So if anything comes out that I'm like, oh, like I won't I won't enjoy the thing less because I know what's coming. In fact, with horror movies, I pretty often enjoy them more when I understand what the story is. So like second and third viewings for horror movies are always my favorite. But anyway, like from that, it's also key to think about like what kind of movie is it? Because is it, I mean, are we looking at like a sci-fi B movie where they're just like this is just like gory and fun for the hell of it? Because if that's the case, spoil whatever the fuck you want. But if you're like, no, this is like Terminator 2 level, like this is actually kind of going to make you change the way that you view other movies in this genre, then I don't know, maybe hold back a little.
I compared it to Terminator 2 too many times to not actually treat it like Terminator 2.
That's fine. I mean, like I said, spoilers are not a huge thing for me. I actually enjoy when it comes to like horror movies. I enjoy them more when I know what the ending is.
All right.
You know?
So yeah, so full spoilers for the Banana Splits movie follow. Uh, basically, it's in a world where the Banana Splits were always huge. They
Okay.
never stopped being popular.
So it takes place present time because
Modern time.
It was okay. All right, here we go.
I mean,
Buckle in.
yeah, definitely modern time because there's the whole, and I love it. I absolutely love when things do it. First of all, there's a guy who's like a live streamer, and he's like, "Yo, I'm here at Taft Studios, and we're gonna see the Banana Splits, man." He's not Shaggy, but Shaggy's what I did for the character.
Okay. The other thing is, this is just a question to clarify. Man, I keep fucking running into my mic. I'm doing a lot of hand gestures tonight, and I don't know why.
That's fine.
No, so is this a world where the Banana Splits are still kind of like a kid thing, or are they so huge like in the Country Bears movie? I can't think of another way to like really kind of compare things. But like in the real world, like the Country Bears is the last thing any parent wants to go to. In the world of the Country Bears, it seemed like they were actually more for an adult audience. Like, is it that like the Banana Splits are really big with parents too? Like everybody loves them, or is it really a kiddie thing?
It's weird. It walks that line really well of being realistic in terms of that, because the like
Yeah, bronies.
yeah. That sounds solid. Because like the main kid character Harley, like the family is like, it's weird that he's still into this show. Like he's the only one of his friends who watches it, and it's like it's questioning if like should he still be watching it? Should we step in and try to like change his interest because he is getting older, and
Right.
we want him to like be accepted at school. And mostly that's his father. Like the mother is completely accepting of it. She's the one who got the tickets to the taping and everything. And then we also see like this live streamer who is someone who like clearly grew up with it, and
Right.
he's there with his girlfriend, and it means a lot to both of them, the show. So it's this interesting thing. But I was nervous based on the trailer that like they would be dilapidated and it would be like odd that they're going to this live taping of a show, but they're at the height of their popularity still.
Okay.
The only reason that the show is canceled in universe is because a new VP is announced of programming, and he's like, I want to be done with this show because the Banana Splits are not cool. And then like the producer's like, but we have tapings sold out through the rest of the year. Like, I don't care if you don't think they're cool. They're profitable.
Yeah, that's odd. But
Yeah.
okay.
And he's like, nah, the technology inside of those freaks, I could sell them to a theme park and I could double what they're worth right now.
Ah, it's got some good Jurassic Parkness to it. I like that.
Yeah. So, and the whole thing is that they are like heavily advanced animatronics. And I mean, I'm not going to, like, the way that they go bad is not related to the cancellation in the beginning. But then it seems like the cancellation is what drove them to murder people because their programming says the show must go on.
I love it
So,
so much.
it's so good. It's just so good. But then, like, in the beginning, and I don't mind spoiling it because, again, you said you don't care, but also it ends up not being anything. Like, Drooper is getting updated. Like, he needs to have his firmware updated. And it's all green. Like, his sunglasses are the monitors.
Okay.
And it's funny because they all wear sunglasses, so like that's the monitor where you can see the coding, and it's all green and it's good. And then this like line of text comes up that's like bold, and it all turns red. So I'm like, oh, okay, so somebody hacked the freaking banana splits, and that's why they're bad. They were good before today. And then I think somebody's like, yeah, that doesn't really work for this narrative. So we're going to forget that happened. And we're going to make it so the cancellation made them angry, and now the show must go on. So that is why they murdered all of the parents and kidnapped the children so they could have a forever audience. Which is the kind of third act reveal.
Oh, man.
And the only people who are safe are the people who have stars on the back of their tickets to have a meet and greet with the splits after the taping. Because all of those people, as they were escorted out of the theater, they were just murdered off screen. And then they find, like, the pit of death. It's pretty badass.
Oh, my God.
It's so good. And then, but like talking about people who like enjoy them, like you're introduced to three families. You're introduced to the main family, which is Mitch, his wife Beth, their biological child Harley, and then the 19-year-old Austin, who is Beth's biological child, but Mitch is his stepfather. So they're already covering like every possible relationship that can exist in this type of movie.
Right.
Exists in that family. And then you have the streamer Thad and his girlfriend Poppy. And then you have a stage father who wants nothing more than for his daughter to be a star. So his hope is to meet a producer and get her on the banana splits. She could be a part of the Sour Grape Gang.
Oh, God.
So, and they do a pretty good job of like why all of the people... like of making them despicable, except for like Thad dies, and I'm like, he really hasn't done anything wrong.
Other
like,
than love you.
Like it's weird.
Why would you kill him?
But the reason they did that is because there ain't no doubt in my mind that if this sells well, we getting banana splits too. The splitting. Or judgment split.
Judgment split. There we go. Oh man.
Because
the one thing that I don't want to spoil for me. I've decided there's one thing I don't want to spoil for me, and I'm not going to ask it, but I will reveal it next week after I've seen the movie.
Yes.
And I'll tell you how disappointed I am that the thing that I'm not saying didn't happen. But anyway.
It's just, I couldn't believe it. I'm going to watch this movie. It's 90 minutes. I'm interested enough because this is the banana splits. Last night, we saw Apocalypse Now, the final cut.
Okay.
Which, I don't know if I could recommend it. Like, honestly, Apocalypse Now, the original version from 1979, is really, really good. Like, I love Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now Redux, which adds an hour and is 3 hours and 30 minutes long. Not great, because the stuff that they added is weird.
Yeah. I was going to say Redux, I think, is the more, like, if you want the definitive version of what that movie really is, you got to watch Redux. But if you want to just enjoy yourself and watch a good movie, like, just watch the original.
Right. Which is what I was hoping for from Final Cut. Final Cut, they've restored it to 4K from the original negatives. And they're like, straight up, we didn't put the stuff with the sex with the Playmates. Like, that is gone from Redux. Nobody liked it. It was friggin' awkward. It's gone. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe that means the other Redux stuff. But it was still 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And the only theater I found showing it started at 8. So, like, midnight, I'm leaving the theater. Because they still showed trailers before it. It's very weird. Like, it's very much a new release from Lionsgate that I saw last night of Apocalypse Now.
That's very bizarre.
But as I'm driving home at midnight, I'm like, I need to stop and pick up the Banana Splits movie. And I sent a text to my mother saying, I'm going to be home, but I'm stopping to pick up Banana Splits movie. And she's like, Banana Splits, this is so old. And I'm like, Yeah, no,
Not this one.
it's a different movie.
It's
I
a
can
different
explain
thing.
it to you when I'm not driving. But it was just like, so it is something that has like retention, and there was nothing like watching it myself. I was reminded of moments, but yeah, it's good. It's real good. It's just
All
like
right.
quality freaking horror that we don't get today. Cuz
Yeah.
it's the type of horror where like it has a message and it has a meaning,
Yeah.
and I dug it. And oh god,
Well,
the last
look,
scene is
and
so good.
yeah, well, maybe we will have to revisit this Banana Splits Redux, because we do have to talk about it, especially because like I have to give it its due because of the fact that it started out in life as this like
Five
Five
Nights
Nights
at
at
Freddy.
Freddy's thing, which is such like a huge cultural phenomenon, and the fact that it's not that, like, I almost feel like that release you feel it deserves, and that like audience that you feel it deserves, it would have gotten that with a Five Nights at Freddy's skin to this, as opposed to Banana Splits, wouldn't it? I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll talk
Yeah, I
about it
think
after
that
I
if
see
you
it.
see it, because I mean, it does not feel like a sci-fi movie. I think the one that I always think of is Sasquatch. I think
Mhm.
that was the name of it.
Yeah,
Where like in college, I went to a party to watch the premiere of the sci-fi original movie Sasquatch.
yeah. I mean, for anybody, Sharknado, for anybody out there, like, is it in that vein of a
I
Sharknado? And
fucking hate Sharknado, and
yeah,
I'm not trying to be rude when I say that. Sharknado is boring to me. Like it takes forever to have anything happen.
I own all
And
six of them.
that's fine. That's completely understandable. The Banana Splits movie is never boring.
Yeah,
And I think that's the highest praise that I can give it. Because I mentioned it briefly, Ready or Not, I didn't like because of how boring it was.
oh, man, that's such a shame. It's
Uh,
such a good concept. I'm so upset that it's
And
not.
and you know what? Let's talk about it. The juniors saw it. They went to see it together last Saturday or the Saturday before last.
Yeah,
Whatever the date was. Math. The 21st of August. No, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm getting caught up on dates for no reason. 25th, I think, and they loved it. Like if you go listen to Say Report Junior, they have a full like 40-minute discussion about Ready or Not and why it's such a good movie. But did you ever watch Life in Pieces on CBS?
yeah.
Um,
I have no idea where you're going with this, by the way. But yes,
if the characters in Ready or Not had just been the characters from Life in Pieces, like the exact characters, I think I would have liked the movie. The problem is that there's just no character development at all in Ready or Not.
okay.
And it was interesting to juxtapose that film against something like Banana Splits, because almost everybody had character development, and it's shorter and it's made for TV.
Yeah.
So it's weird that like the semi horror comedy movie I saw in theaters felt more like the straight to TV movie than the actual straight to TV movie.
Weird.
And I think
man.
it also probably speaks to the fact that we are in the golden age of TV right now, which
For
is a
sure.
phrase that I fucking hate, but it's kind of hard not to agree with it.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna slowly realize that things are getting a little screwy television wise. I think over the next couple of years, that's my prediction. I think we're slowly getting to the end of the golden age. We were at the height of it with things like Breaking Bad, but I think we're starting to get past it now. But we'll see. There's been some rough stuff the last couple of years that I don't think that we've had that like. I don't think that we've had that show that we can point to say this is the epitome of perfect television.
Yeah, you're right. There's stuff I liked, but even
Mhm.
like Fargo was really good in its first season, but then as it's continued,
Well, and I think since the move to NBC, Brooklyn Nine-Nine's just not the force that it was. I think it's still a phenomenal
it's
show.
still
Like,
really good. But
it's still really good, but it is not the show that like was running like that show became every GIF I sent, GIF It became every reference I made at parties. That show became like everything. And now I still do that, but it's still the first 5 seasons that I do that with. You know what I mean?
I mean, we haven't talked about it, but the 6th season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the characters did so many out of character things. It was like painful to watch.
Yeah, definitely some weird moments.
Like the one, like episode 9, I think is the one where they're in the hospital, and it makes literally no sense for Amy Santiago, workaholic, to be like, I define myself on whether or not I have a child. Like there's been nothing before that sentence is said to like make that a believable statement.
For sure, but the baby conversation trope was big the last couple of years because right now we're going through a movement in feminism where we're trying to decide how we feel about women that want to have jobs and have kids, or just have kids, or just have jobs. Like we're kind of redefining that at the moment. If you take a look at like every sitcom had that episode this last season. Every show dealt with like the other big kind of sub trend to it is lesbian moms having the conversation about whether or not they want to have kids, and that being like make or break for them. It's actually weirdly been in the water a lot lately, that exact conversation that you're pointing to. And that's exactly the thing, right? Is Brooklyn Nine-Nine was never the one to tread in the same waters as everybody else. They were always the ones to kind of set the course, right?
Right. And I mean, like, and I'm not saying that I'm fine with her wanting to have children, like, but it's just, it came from nowhere in a show that did a very good job of like slow burning in plot points.
Yeah.
It just, it hit me like a truck from nowhere. I felt like I was Anne Hathaway in one day. Spoilers for the first minute of one day.
Yeah. So like TV is this thing right now that we're still kind of feeling a good buzz from the last decade, but I'll be surprised if that buzz is still with us in a few years.
Granted. Do you have anything to add before we wrap this episode up?
Trying to think. No, nothing huge this week. Video games next week. Or is it the week after we have Borderlands 3? The 13th?
The 13th, yeah. So we have one more week that we have to get through.
Okay.
And then, so next week's episode, we'll be talking about everything Borderlands 3 and what it means for you, the listener of Stay Report Nation. So look forward to that. I would like to add one more thing about the golden age of television. Designing Women is now on Hulu.
Oh, yeah. I saw that come up.
It released on National Women's Day or whatever day that was. I can't think of the actual wording for it. Women's Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
It's something in August, and I'm just like, that's a weird way to put those words together for what you're trying to say. It's a lot of words for that. But it's when it released. So I have been steadily trucking through Designing Women.
Yeah.
And that is a golden age of television in the eyes of Devon Decker. But the craziest thing is I've watched the whole first season. I can't believe how many iconic episodes are from that first season of Designing Women.
Yeah. No, that show fucking knocked it out of the park early.
Right from the beginning.
What is it, 3, 4 seasons?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's, man, I it's that time when like a show could just be on. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And I mean, and that's a show that in the 6th season they lose Delta Burke and they lose Jean Smart. And that's insane, right? To think of like Jean Smart is still acting and fantastic. Delta Burke, I don't know. I don't think she ever recovered from that Delta Burke show. The Delta Burke show, I believe it was called. But I still think that she, like, people have fond memories of who and what she was as an actress. But then, so they added in Julia Duffy and Jane. I can never Jan. I don't know. I don't remember who came in to play Colleen instead of Charlene. And then
mixing up the dude on Designing Women with the one from Mannequin.
Yeah, he's the same guy, Meshach Taylor.
Okay.
R.I.P. Meshach. Thank you for all of the laughs. He was also in Dave. Remember Dave?
Oh, man. With Klein there, right?
No, not the TV show. Not the movie, the TV show. It was Harry Anderson from Night Court as a stay-at-home sports writer, and Meshach Taylor played his best friend.
I need to find that show.
1993.
That sounds amazing.
The theme song was "You May Be Right" by Billy Joel. It's pretty great.
I need to find that immediately.
Yeah. Oh God, Harry Anderson, like he didn't just stop working after Night Court.
Oh my God! Whenever he shows up on Cheers as Harry, like clearly that role was written for him, right?
Well, yeah, because that was in that weird time where, I mean, the 80s were sort of the true golden age of television. I guess you'd call it the silver age now because of how things work. But NBC, you see a lot of people show up on that show. Like you see Michael Richards shows up in an episode of Cheers, Harry Anderson, all of these people who would then go on to have shows on NBC. And the reason was they wanted to keep them in the stable. And they wanted people to know who these actors were so that when a show came, they'd be like, oh, Night Court. Oh, it's got the guy who plays Harry the Hat from Cheers. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that is harking back to golden age of film, like 40s and 50s, when studios would just sign you for they would just sign you for 20 movies a year, and then you just go where they put you, and they still do that to amateurs. Like people very rarely get to choose the movies they make nowadays. Yeah, keep that in mind the next time you want to be shitty about Nicolas Cage.
Oh, Nikki, but yeah, so that's one of those things, and just it feels so good to watch it again. The only weird thing is, we've talked a lot about how Hulu is only the syndication package, and the cuts they do are just awful.
Yep.
As someone who has like watched Designing Women on DVD,
yeah,
it like just random fades to black, and then the next time someone enters the sugar baker's office, that's where they start from again, and it's just awkward.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, I've noticed, I was joking the other day about a Futurama cut, and I've just noticed more and more of them now as I've been watching them on Hulu. I was like, oh, they've definitely cut this to that 21-minute mark because it came out originally as a something-minute movie, and they needed to chop it up into 4 things for TV. Yeah.
That's also Comedy Central's fault. Blame Comedy Central. Hashtag blame Comedy Central.
Yeah, I know, but if you're going for Hulu, you have to just know that you're going for those syndication cuts. You're going for those television cuts.
Right. Well, it made me dig out all the old Designing Women DVDs. And if I have my druthers, maybe, no promises, but maybe a Designing Women's podcast is in the work. I know that my mother is very excited about the prospect.
I love it.
All right. So at this point, if you want to talk to me about Designing Women,
you and your mom and your sister do it, and it's called Designing Deckers.
Okay, that's not bad, actually.
I'm just putting that out there.
Sugar Deckers. I'm proud of that one. All right, so if you want to talk to me about hot dogs, Designing Women, or the Banana Splits movie, you can find me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And if you want to get in touch with me and talk to me about the upcoming Borderlands stuff, and talk to me about any tips or tricks you might have to level up real fucking quick, because I want to go ham in that game ASAP. So hit me up at Siege versus the World.
All right. So until next time, if we can pull him away from the Bard, will bring us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.